happen, but I just wasn't there.
Oh, by the way, okay, the RHONY, I feel like we're missing the connectivity because Lizzie Savetsky had started out filming with them and then was cut from the show, and her husband. So I think, as everybody has always said, we basically episode 4 became episode 1 because they had to scrap all that. So I think it seemed like a little bit, maybe Lizzie was like maybe the connector, and then, you take that out of it. So it is kind of like, all right, how do these women know each other? How are we going to paint this together? I don't know. I loved New York. Brynn ended up being, I did. Brynn, Sai, they ended up being so much more interesting. And the funny part was I was a huge Jenna Lyons stan. And then I actually ended up disliking Jenna Lyons the most. I thought we learned nothing. She deflected. She used it to promote her eyelash line. She acted so cringy and like not a boss at all. Like, oh, me. And it was like, oh God, get the fuck over yourself. You're like such a huge icon in the fashion world, but it was so like, oh, don't talk about me. But supposedly according to this, insider source, they say that Jenna's coming back.
But this is why I love Vanderpump Rules. To your point, Daniel, like this is real people that know each other. I mean, listen, I'm shocked it has a 1.3. Like the ratings are still really high. It's like there's something about the show that's just so. I think it's because they really all are intertwined.
Do you think Legacy is coming back in any sort of way, or these girls that was their farewell trip?
I personally think that was their farewell trip. That's honestly and truly. It has nothing to do with Caroline and Brandy and the lawsuit. I think Girls Trip wasn't coming back anyway. I just think that this wasn't, I don't think the ratings for streaming were good. And like, I don't think it was buzzy enough. Like, who really watched it? I mean, yeah, so now 5 people are going to comment on YouTube. I watched it, or Instagram. A lot of these listeners watched it, but the general masses, I don't think did. I really don't think so. I don't think Crappy Lake is coming back. I really don't. Those are my honest opinions. I think all this is over.
Sometimes things are of a certain time and the luster goes or the moment passes. For me, like season 7 to 12 of RHONY there's some of the best television ever made there. Like some of those seasons were just so good.
You're one of those. I say it all the time on here. I don't know how yes, I know Catherine because she's friends with me, so I know that season 6 of Beverly Hills, and I know New Jersey, The Fateful, with my friend Amber. I don't remember seasons. Like, I don't remember, like on RHONY when Kristen Taman was like, no, that was season 7, not 9. I'm like, how do you know this? It all blends.
I have a really photographic memory.
You do. Like, I have friends that could say like, no, that song was like 1991, not 94. And I'm like, what?
I'm like that. Yeah, I'm like that.
I have no idea about any of this.
I got one last one for you guys, although we can keep going. But I do know you two probably have places to be. Okay, but we were talking about Monica. She recently did Dorinda's podcast. Wait, does Dorinda have a podcast, David? Is this a podcast, or is it like a Dorinda show?
Sirius Radio, which I never hear about this, and then I guess it is a regular. I mean, then it comes up. I guess it's like a weekly thing for Dorinda.
They essentially had a 6-minute conversation of if they're on pause or if they've been fired. And Monica seemed to defend that she's on pause. And Dorinda goes, despite what the haters say, I was on pause. And so, but Monica seems to imply she thinks she will be back. I'm curious, Daniel, what you think, and David, if this changes anything.
Well, I think Dorinda I love her, but I think she's a little delulu. And I think Monica's a pathological liar.
I think Monica, listen, there's a lot of listeners and viewers that think Monica's coming back, that think, look, I
love that she is a pathological liar. I don't care.
I would like to see it. I would like to see it. And I thought her mom was television gold. She reminded me of like Ramona, but like without any of the good qualities of Ramona.
I mean, does Ramona have any good qualities anymore?
She's a nice mother. She's like nice to her friends that she likes.
She is, but she won't do everything for her daughter because her daughter was on this podcast and her daughter did not like some things that she said on this podcast. And her daughter wanted it. I think I told this story once. Avery was on this podcast for a 2-part episode, and the first part came out, and Miss Avery Singer was not thrilled with some of the press that she got from her own statements on this podcast. And then she wanted stuff edited out of the second episode. Did I ever tell you the story, Sarah? I don't know. But I'm telling everyone here, including Daniel, she wanted stuff edited out of the second episode. And it's like, this isn't McDonald's. Like, I'm not just like sitting here to pick up the phone to do what you want me to do. And I said, hey, listen, and this was all through my team and her team. But I was like, this is an unusual circumstance in that I instead of saying no, I will give Avery the actual transcript. She can take an actual red marker. She can cross out every word she wants edited out, but we have to book Ramona on the podcast. That's here how this is going to work. And then Avery apparently got back to my team and was like, oh, it's my mother. I'll just tell her to do it. No problem. What she wanted edit out was some shit she said about her father, Mario. So I was like, oh, I guess Ramona's coming on the podcast because Avery's like, whatever, I'll just tell her to do it. Well, apparently when she went and asked her mother, Ramona, to come on the podcast, like, hey, I don't want this out there and you don't want this out there about dad, just go on the damn podcast. Miss Ramona did not care for this quid pro quo. So apparently, as much of a great mother as she was not willing to do anything for Avery because she wouldn't come on this podcast. And then she calls Bravo. She's not even on Bravo anymore. This is before she was hired back for Girls Trip. And then Bravo has the audacity to call my team and is like, we need, to have a talk, and we have such a great relationship with David, and Ramona wants this edited out. And I was like, tell Bravo to go fuck themselves. Tell her, but nothing is being edited. Everything could be edited out if Ramona comes on the podcast. Well, Ramona wanted her cake and eat it too. And I'm like, tell her to go fuck herself. I don't know if I ever told that story, but there you go.
There we go.
New one.
There you go. So apparently
right.
she's a great mother, but she won't do anything for her daughter. Go on.
We're not holding out any hope that Monica is coming back. We don't think this is depressing. This is depressing. I don't know what to say.
Well, the only thing I think is like, if we're in like episode 7 and like we have shit, which is the whole reason why I think Anne-Marie is there. I don't think they had enough. I think if it's really a shit ass season, I think it is possible. Yeah. I really do.
It's always possible. The bridge is open if they have Mary back and Mary and Monica are still friendly. I think that I'd like the idea of her coming back as a villain, and as like maybe in a limited role. But the problem, I think, is setting the precedent that a fan or someone who has stalkery tendencies could sort of infiltrate one of these social groups. I think, that's sort of the precedent that they don't want to reward.
Yeah, I think that's the whole dichotomy. So I think that's why she got fired. I really do. And I think that thing with Andy at the reunion, I think that was the nail in the coffin. I think Heather knew what she was doing when Heather kind of punted to her and she was like, Sarah is over Bethany Frankel and Heather Gay. So yes, when Lisa said something and Heather was like, no, like you told us that production knows that you told them during your interview, and Heather knew exactly what she was doing. And then Monica, because she's a newbie, thought this was like her big moment. She was so proud of herself. She's like, oh yeah, I told production. And Andy's like, wait, what? If you told production, we never would have cast you. And she's like, I did. I think Heather was sitting there like, bitch, you just fucking buried yourself.
Yeah. You don't mess with Andy at the reunions.
I know.
No. So I think I agree with you, Daniel, that like, it's a weird one, but I really think if they're left with shit, which they might be, but I think just like Vanderpump Rules, this girl you mentioned, Raquel Leviss, oh, she's part of it. They talk about her, they show her, they talk about Jen Shaw. I think they're gonna talk about Monica for a good first bunch of episodes, whether she is there or not. And so,
well, come on, when you make an impact, they're still talking